Welcome to the Reasoning Machine podcast. Hey Subbu, how are you?
Hi. Good, good.
Great. So today we have a guest with us, Anand V. He is the APAC CIO of Randstad. But I just want to add a disclaimer that he's joining our show today on his personal capacity. He doesn't express any of his company views. I just want to add that in the front. Welcome to the show, Anand. Anand, I thought the Reasoning Machine shows essentially we are talking specifically around everything around artificial intelligence. We have done multiple episodes looking at how AI is disrupting every other space, what all new models it's bringing in and things like that, right? Today, I think since you have been in the industry for almost close to 30 years, I think. Just wanted to start with where do you see AI is today in terms of adoption in enterprise? Let me start with. You need not essentially talk about your company, but overall, right? So there has been a lot of spending going on. Many enterprises saying, "Hey, we are doing this, we are doing that," but how much of it is really translating into something meaningful for the company? Let me start with that. What's your assessment of this?
Yeah, thanks, Ubu, for inviting. It's a pleasure to be here with both of you. Enterprise adoption is going well in most of the companies, right? Like companies, like you said, have spent good amount of licenses in enabling all the employees with different types of AI capabilities, right? From like the simple LLM chatbots to creating agentic AI based software and things like that, like in any technology, right? Like some of them I call them as the advanced technology users, power users of AI. They are really taking it to a different level, right? Creating great level of automation, doing a lot of agentic AI for their own personal tasks and things like that. So they are super users, I call, like, without any help or anything, they are taking it to the next level, making themselves and their teams very productive. Then there are people like for whom, there are trainings and things like that, who take the training and they do it to a certain level. But vast majority of people are using it, based on various uh, interactions that I'm having at a very basic level.
Okay. Is that like a part of like an Office suite subscription? What you have seen people are using? Because many companies who are, let's say, on Microsoft 365 tend to use Copilot, and probably we have seen many enterprises don't allow other LLMs which are not, let's say, approved by their IT teams, right? So, what's your take on that? Is it so? I think outside, if you look at, I think the game is completely different, right? So, obviously, Gemini and Cloud are probably, and Cloud probably is pretty good at certain aspects, and Gemini in
Mm.
certain areas. My take on Microsoft, though they started with Copilot, I think they are probably lagging now in terms of their integration with Office suites and all that, right? So where do you
Yeah.
see with these three big players? I don't know if Cloud is big in enterprise. I am not sure because it tends to be you either be with one of the Office suite providers, right? Either with Google or Microsoft, who are the bigger players. So, what do you see as a trend there? Uh, is it on the similar lines what we talked about, what I was talking about, or are companies buying exclusive their own LLM licenses for general usage? We'll come to the technical
Certainly.
teams. Yeah,
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
let's say your
Most
operations
of the
team, HR
enterprise,
team. Yeah.
yeah. Now most of the enterprises are going in the direction of, let's say, you are either having Microsoft or Google suits at your office, right? Depending upon whom you started with. So most of the companies are going with that direction, right? So that you don't need to buy n number of tools, like whether it is Copilot or Gemini or Claude, and there are a number of things in the market, right? Just to because of cost and other simple factors, right? Like whether, like I said, the adoption is not that phenomenally well in the general. If you take an average, right, there are obviously pockets of excellence. So organization's preference is actually to run it along with the suit that they have. And see, it is no more an IT decision. In 99% of the companies, it is more of a business decision than an IT decision. So it is no more the CIO is
Okay.
controlling, saying that no, this is good, that is bad, kind of a thing. That is not there. And just to give an example from my own organization, like we have one specific OEM's LLM working for all of us. But for the technical teams, we have subscriptions open, across multiple different models and tools.
Okay. That leads to next question. Since you're saying it's mostly what's coming with Google or Microsoft, maybe Subbu will be interested in the next one. I'm sure is around the privacy aspect, right? Uh, Data loss prevention used to be big even when all these things were not there. And people are worried about when, let's say, the drives came along. A lot of these online storages. A lot of people are worried about, especially the CIOs, like how they are going to control the data leak from the company. And with this, I think the it has just opened a Pandora's box, I would say, right? Because you can pretty much attach anything, ask anything. You don't know whether it is a proprietary software. We also have seen news from US. Some government agencies, you would have read, I think last few months back it happened, where he had posted a really confidential document onto the LLM and asked some questions. So, how do
Yeah.
you? I mean, what all controls are companies looking at to even monitor this to begin with?
Yeah. So first and foremost, most of the subscriptions that enterprise have run in a like a sandbox kind of environment, right? So your data does not go out to the overall training data, right? That's the first and foremost precautions almost all the enterprises are taking. Once that is taken care of, then there are very clear trainings that where the employees are educated what to do and what not to do with the LLM. So even despite having this sandbox environment, things can go out,
Yeah.
right? So the employees are taught what to do and what not to do. And they are also we like if you also have data loss, data classification of your documentation, then you can also bring in some more controls, saying that okay, if it is an what you'll have different, let's say, different level of confidentiality. Let's say C4, C5 are the highest levels, probably strategy documents and things like that. Then you cannot move them to the LLM for any analysis or anything, right? So those kind of controls are there. And like in many organizations, like access is limited only to that particular tool set which is authorized, right, rather than keeping it
Okay.
open to everything where you don't have control.
So, do you have any inputs on that, or do you have any questions, especially on the privacy side, right? Because you are
No, I
very
think,
interested in that.
yeah, sure. So what I basically look at is that like we just, if you want to go back, look slightly in terms of how mobile adoption happened in the enterprises. Initially, the consumers were employees of the enterprises were buying it, and then they were using it as a personal devices and stuff like that. But wherein you didn't have
Yeah,
any kind of enterprise management tools like your EAMs and other things like uh, initially, wherein the enterprises can just adopt directly and put controls, privacy controls, and other things, remote wipe and other things. So they were waiting for those tools to come in and then adopt and stuff like that. I see similar trend here, wherein you see the people across the organization are just taking subscriptions for either personal use or for professional use, and then they're still again mixing match that. Take the personal subscription and again use it for work, and then again use it for personal purposes at home, at office, and all the other places. So that initial phase is happening slowly. Like R&D houses and other things, like when you look at it, they are like primarily over into research and development, cutting edge, bleeding edge kind of stuff, work which they are doing, which is like not very uh, other than the teams which are like not very critical. I wouldn't say not critical, but I would say not critical to the business as it like R&D and other things. So they are like slightly slow in adoption, but wherein if you look at the uh, research teams and then other players, they're just massively adopting them, even just looking at like with the help of the personalization tools and stuff like that. So both, I would say, like all kinds of mixed match adoption is happening. Maybe once you have like a lot more hardened tools available, you will be able to see those like enterprises lapping up pretty fast. And even the businesses which are like the second and third priorities within the group, within the company, will also start adopting these tools, and then you'll start seeing the productivity gains and stuff like that as well. The other specific question you asked is like in terms of privacy. The privacy aspect of it is like pretty murky at this point of time, because it's just that it is very difficult to draw lines with respect to LLM, whether you're using a cloud subscription or other companies who are willing to move into in-house LLM. I mean, like in-house large language model platforms and stuff like this is not very clear yet. There are different organizations that are different timeline on this. So I mean, it's just everyone is moving on their own pace and stuff like that. So generically, if you ask me, then yeah, largely R&D houses are adopting it, and then people at the sales and other things are just primarily adopting it, like either as like personal subscriptions or like there are some companies which are just giving them the subscriptions out and stuff like that. So depending on the work what you do within the enterprise, you still have reach to these tools, and then some of the people who work in the enterprise not having reach to these tools. So that's where we are there. We are not there everywhere. That's what I see. Um, uh, it's largely as a large trend. That's what.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to move on, so let me start with some of the use cases what people are using, right? I know you are saying that it's still not very widely used apart from personal usage. So the one thing which I think I want to probably start with is essentially the dashboards, right? Which is probably a big thing in enterprises. So do you think it is probably going to replace the dashboards? Let's say what every other team is building it, and AI is bringing in new ways of consuming that real-time information whenever, wherever you want, right? So what do you see as a trend? Is it something you see it's going to happen immediately, or yeah?
So again, Subbu, here it's about the ability of the enterprise to take the technology and move with it, right? That is where how modern the enterprise leaders and how forward thinking they are. I definitely think the era of dashboards are going to get over, right? It is if in the age of LLM, in my personal view, if somebody is creating a dashboard, I feel that is going back in time by 10 years, right? Because most of the questions can be answered in a conversational manner, and that's what at least I am trying to push in my own enterprise, and we are taking baby steps towards it. Yeah, because most of this data is available, easily available in a data lake kind of a place, right? So we are working with OEMs in trying to actually construct these conversational interfaces, because like dashboards for me are reactive. They are actually telling you what passed, right? But if you are a very strategic leader, like a CEO of an organization, you are interested in knowing what has happened till yesterday, right? And what is that going to show you in the future? So, you don't need to wait for, somebody to generate that dashboard and then put it in a PPT, then one more expert coming in, seeing that dashboard and giving their expert view.
Right.
That I think is an era of, I think that's in my opinion, that is going to, die. It's a natural death in the coming years. Some of them, will adapt it very fast. Some companies will take its own time. So, but it's a matter of time, Subbu, like this is not going to be there anymore. Because all the things, whatever it has been done, can be done much more efficiently and much more rapidly and much more real time, right?
Yeah.
Than what is being done right now.
And do you think, I mean, do you expect let's say you are probably invested in the existing dashboard tools. Are you looking at replacing them completely with this new AI interfaces? You are demanding these existing platform players to support that?
Most of the platform players are coming with these kind of interfaces by themselves, right? Many of I don't think there is any tool that I see in the market whose sales pitches are not having the word AI, right? Every company puts the sales pitch and with AI. But the question that I think, as an IT leader, we should ask is like, whether the tool contributes in making revenue, right? If the tool is not contributing in making revenue and you are actually trying to develop, trying to buy a third party tool, right? And then that has an AI on top of it for which somebody is charging you more, then it is not going to be a very good decision for future. Because at some point in time, the CEO and the board of directors and the CFO is going to call and ask you like, what are we doing? So
No,
I
why I'm
think,
asking is essentially is you take any ERP system, right? I mean, there is a core ERP or a CRM system or any SaaS, I mean, software you're subscribed to in the enterprise. Most of them offer an analytics layer which comes at a premium. And whether you take from very well-known players, like let me take some names, like for example, SAP HANA or a Tableau. Tableau is very expensive software for an enterprise. So what do you, I mean, is there really a need for such analytics tools going forward? Where you don't want to invest millions of dollars on license on them because it's going to be a per seat license. And I really don't know how they are going to change that model into an AI interface because it is very, very difficult where everybody is going to query, right? How are you going to go with restrict the per seat model? So that is my question. So do you wait for the vendor to, I mean, come and adopt to this newer ways of experiencing analytics, let's say, or you are having your own teams build these with all the capabilities already LLMs are providing many of it.
Yeah. No, that is the direction, Subbu, tech forward enterprise IT leaders are taking, right? Because there is no incremental value in any of these, tools that bring into the market. Like I said, the question to ask, Subbu, is what is the revenue that is being gained by this analytics, right? If you ask that question, then the answer is right in front of you. But if you're asking wrong question, like, does this analytic tools have AI? Do they connect to my, if you're asking those kind of technical questions, then you are getting the wrong answer, right? The right question to ask, is how much of this tool's capability is contributing to my revenue? And the moment that question is asked, Subbu, the answer is right in front of you. And then, things start moving forward.
Okay. So let's step into this. I would probably say the training of any new employee who comes in, you have to train them on some of your internal enterprise tools, right? And that has always been a problem, especially with some of the older systems what is there in place. So one thing which probably is eased out a lot because it is supporting natural interface interactions. Is that have you seen people are more willing to use some of these things, or interested, or giving you, let's say, ideas? Hey, why don't you enable, for example, some of these ERP use cases right through these such interactions? Because it just cuts down the need for training, right? Because today everybody is able to. I mean, even personally, if you look at your own home, whether your parents, they are able to easily converse with these AI tools, and not really go, let's say, go here, go there, search, and all that, right? So,
No, absolutely, you're right. So very simple. Let me take the technology team as it is, right? So just imagine earlier when somebody, a developer or a senior developer or an architect is quitting. If you remember in the olden days, there used to be an KT plan, like 30 days KT plan. The manager is tracking,
yeah.
all those things are completely irrelevant in the current situation. So we in our team we hired few developers, right? We definitely have I have a combination of legacy code and very modern serverless architecture both, right? So this time when these guys came in, they actually took the LLM. They took the old legacy code. They didn't wait for any KT. Nobody gave any KT. So they went through the code. They analyzed the code by themselves. They decided, like, okay, this is what this part of the code is doing. So the learning actually has become very simple from the technology perspective. From a business perspective, Subbu, the lot of standard documentation that is available has been taken, and we have put it into LLM chatbots. Now many of the teams can create their own chatbots. No need to dependent on IT. IT don't need to, like earlier, if you
I'll
remember,
come to that yeah, but
right. So generally, that is happening. But in business, the biggest problem that I am observing, right, and also when I discuss with many of my peers, is there is a lot of contextual information that is residing in the chat messages and emails, and absolutely due to data privacy and other things, those contextual information is very difficult to extract and put it into the knowledge base, right? Whereas in an IT perspective, what happens is, finally, because IT is a physical, for an LLM, it's a physical code, right? That LLM can see and almost tell the logic. Of course, we are, what we have done after we implemented, these kind of tools is first to document the entire thing through LLM. Right now, what we have is a good documentation done by the LLM, validated by people, of course, so that we prevent other issues. But that's, yeah, of course, that is getting changed. I agree with you.
Okay, so that leads to the. So Subbu, you have any questions on this? Or anything you want to share, especially? Okay.
Okay, so the one of those concerns which he raised is like something in terms of like the teams are building their own chart bias and stuff like that. So some of the implementations what I've seen in a couple of enterprises adopt is that you largely have something like a large language model deployed at the enterprise level, and then where you write an API which gives you access to the LLM which is deployed at the enterprise level, which is like your regular REST and stuff like that, and you build a client around that. So basically, what happens is that all the data what you want to share or like get meaning out of it will always be stays within the premises of your company, where the distillation happens, like whenever a new model version is released, so the enterprise updates that. So in terms of like if enterprise is just upset with one company, one LLM vendor, they'll be able to go and then unplug that language model and then plug in a new language model to the API backend, so that automatically, without even knowledge of the enterprise users, people will be able to transition seamlessly from one model to other automatically with the new features which is coming in as upgrade and stuff like that. And the data privacy layer stops at the API level itself. So wherein you have this ability, a lot of enterprises are adopting this technology, this method, this architecture, I would say. Even if you look at something like a recent Iran war, like where you had this Anthropic spat with uh, Planter, where in terms of like they wanted to just retire Anthropic and then just use OpenAI and stuff like that. So they pretty much run in the similar architecture where you have this Maven API system, which is basically works as a API for all the departments of the Department of War, and then you have a backend LLM sitting there within the enterprise which is running there, and then all the other teams access that, and the data privacy used with the help of guardrails and stuff like that done at that level, like, where it's just so that is at the large scale we are looking at. There are companies who are like extremely good at like IT, which is like in terms of your DevOps and stuff like that. You have people who are very good at that. They are just have their own language models running it for code assistant and other things within the organization, and which is opened directly to the employees of the organization within there, which are bind within the local protocol, which is within the within the LAN instead of a WAN protocol, where the communication between the what happens between the LLM and the client happens within the LAN itself, like wherein it doesn't go out of that. So, but the geographical nature of that could be spinning across multiple countries still, but they will be still bound within the. You may have to just VPN into your corporate network and then access it. So there are different models evolving around the deployment. So like traditional technologies, how enterprise adopt, they're just pretty much moving in the direction is what I see. I hope I touched the similar. I mean, did I answer the same question or did I go somewhere wander off?
It's very difficult for an enterprise to change the vendor so easily, right? Because many of the places, Subhi, if you see, the enterprise has taken the LLM from the same OEM who has been providing their, we call it as Office suite, right? Office suite or Google suite or whichever, right? That's the direction almost, that's the most easiest direction all the enterprise. Now, the way you are saying to create that level of guardrails is probably very much possible in a huge organization, which is having an army of IT teams. Not possible even in an Fortune 500 kind of an enterprise is my view, because I have not heard anybody talking about changing their model so far. But but what you are saying is right. If there is a problem with the OEM with whom you are subscribed, if that happens, that's a much bigger business continuity problem rather than just a chatbot problem, right? Like it's a different level of problem altogether that needs to be dealt differently.
So that brings me to the previous question, or the previous answer, what you're saying, where you said the teams are not even waiting for IT team to create a chatbot, they just go ahead and create themselves, right? How do you even control, let's say it may be fun now where everyone's going and vibe coding everything, whether it's a chatbot or a mobile app or whatever they want in their team, right? Which used to have its own life cycle and workflow before. But how are you controlling that today? I mean, how do you even, let's say tomorrow something breaks up in that, where some 1,000 employees are using it, which let's say the IT team is not even aware of. What sort of controls are in place, or how do you even ensure that if, let's say, the guy who created leaves the organization, what happens to the maintenance of it? And there are so many issues around it, right?
Yeah. Definitely. So guardrails are there in place. So it's not like they can create and deploy a mobile app. That much clear guardrail is there. So they can personally they can create something, but they cannot deploy it as the enterprise. For example, in our case, nobody can create a mobile app on their own and deploy it in an app store or a Google Play Store, right? Without the organization's approval, right? So that much controls are there, unless somebody is creating an APK and sharing it with their friends in that particular group. But that also is controlled. If you remember, Subbu Jaisankar was earlier talking about controls on the mobile apps, right? We have enough controls on mobile devices that we are actually allowing it to connect to the enterprise, right? In those places, we have controls. So, for example, if you find a mobile app which is not authorized, but it is trying to access the enterprise information, that can be blocked. So those kind of guardrails are always there. What I'm talking about is the chat apps is like within your LLM ecosystem, you are enabling employees to create their own applications, agents, right? They are not going outside, right? And they are within the ecosystem. And see, that is how you create adoption, Subbu. Otherwise, if you actually keep the technology closer to the technology team, the IT team, adoption takes a lot of time. But this also has other disadvantages like proliferation of tools.
Yeah,
and
the changes, it has democratized the whole thing, right? You don't really need to have programming skill, let's say, right? I mean, or you are a semi-programmer, right? You can just pretty much do it yourself. And that
Yeah,
opens
yeah.
up a lot of, interesting use cases for sure, but then a lot of problems as well, right? So,
First time I'm seeing people from functions like finance, HR, using LLMs, generating their own Python code and coming to the IT team and asking permission to enable, this to run from their laptops. So we evaluate the use case by use case and then we give them permission because we also do not want to, the moment, IT becomes a gatekeeper saying no, it actually kills the adoption. That's what we have seen. So we want to encourage these kind of early adopters, and we want to ensure that they are also like highlighted across the organization, celebrated across the organization, to ensure that everybody is doing that.
okay. So just as an extension to that, it may be the other side of vibe coding, right? Which is, I think probably in one of our previous episodes, we talked about that with another one of our other guests. Is do we really need ERPs and other SaaS systems anymore? What's your opinion on that? Why do I need to, let's say, be bogged down by, multi-billion-dollar ERP deployments and all that, right? So, is that something you see is changing? What's the way forward? I mean, maybe ERP down the line, but the other small SaaS systems, small softwares you buy, let's say, whatever CRM system or invoicing, whatever, right? So, what's your take on that?
You're absolutely right. And I gave the yardstick, which Subbu, I call as Bask's law, based on what Bask actually taught me when I was in Honeywell, right? He told me once saying that if you make any investment in IT, and if that investment does not help Honeywell to produce another manufacture an extra unit of whatever Honeywell is doing. He said you should not invest in that software, right? That so I call it as Bask's law of IT investment, whatever you want to call it as. So any, like I said in the previous question, right? One of the answers I was giving, like if an software is not directly contributing to the revenue, that those softwares, at least many, again, like forward looking IT departments are replacing through vibe coding or whatever you want to call it as.
Do you see
Definitely,
that happening?
yes. At least in my own organization, definitely it's happening. And see, if you think about it, Subbu, like many of these tools are just simple workflow tools, right?
Yeah.
If you abstract it, like sometimes we need to abstract them to a level, right? Yes, it's very difficult to replace an ERP. I completely agree with you, right? But simple workflow tools, ticketing tools, right? Work tracking tools, and those kind of things can definitely be, or should be, in my opinion, like replaced. And we are definitely that's see like few weeks ago, I gave a presentation where I said, see, every dollar that you put in tools, which don't give you revenue returns, you are basically burning that money, right? So you need to invest them, with good developers, with good tools. Developers are able to replace. I will not name the tool, Subbu, but we replaced a tool which normally costed us several millions,
Okay.
with a simple 2.5 months AI, completely end-to-end AI serverless development, which is helping us actually. So
Okay.
it is happening, and it will at some point in time. See, what happens is if the IT departments are not moving forward with this, slowly the CFOs will start asking because they will start hearing from their peers in their organization, hey,
Yeah.
that company did this, why are you not doing it here? So rather than before the CFO comes and asks, it's good to start changing.
Okay. So, just as you said, you're encouraging your other, let's say, non-technical departments in the business to adopt AI, right? So, how are you actually seeing organizations, or maybe you can bring your own example of promoting it? Are they saying, hey, simply a Copilot is there or Gemini is there, just go ahead and use it? or you're giving them some sort of, like say, like a toolkits and like say processes around how to use it, and let's say encourage even non-technical users to create and solve their own problems, right?
Yeah.
Is that something that is happening around, or?
Yeah. So there are good amount of trainings, right? And toolkits are being created.
Okay.
And my best way of doing it is identify super users in each group, right? Who are much more enthusiastic, a little bit tech savvy. So you first work with them, and then they actually demonstrate, how they are leveraging these tools and how they are actually making their life better, right? What I don't want is IT to start going and preaching, saying that, this LLM is great or AI is great.
Yeah.
So we identify this forward-thinking people. We equip them with the right materials and support from backend, and then they become the, advocates, for propelling, the usage of AI.
Okay. So Subbu, I know you are a great proponent of this no SaaS, and maybe so you have anything to share on this?
No, I mean, like what I see, some of the bottlenecks for enterprise to get into this in a big time is like something. There is still, we see the reports on hallucination and stuff like that, where there are a lot of enterprises, still don't have the kind of confidence where they say, like every time 100% of the results we get is correct. That kind of confidence they're not getting in all the areas. So some of the enterprises are a little skeptical about how do we go about doing this and making sure 100% results are delivered every time. That is one thing. Other thing is that sometimes what happens is that within the enterprise you will have this kind of like very systems which are developed across many decades, where you'll have this kind of tools and runtimes are like cutting across different generations and stuff like that. So putting in a large language model within the enterprise and integrating all these tools which are built over different generations is a slightly a tough task because it's not a plug and play for something like you built something on Fortran and stuff like that to directly plug that into it. So that is some of the areas where you look at that like I mean a lot of people may not believe that there are companies which are on production applications written in Fortran and stuff like that. But many people may not be even aware that they're just getting served by Fortran stuff like that. So those are things. And the other thing also I see is that like the point which he repeatedly mentioned is that what is my ROI? What is my ROI? What is my ROI? All this enterprise, whoever just have the budget capability, they always look at what is my ROI. But some of the time, sometimes certain technologies you may not be able to ask that question when you are initially adopting it. The return on investment, what you're putting in, is going to happen. It's going to come in little later than what you're initially spending. So that might be a little hiccup for certain IT managers to understand that. But then once they slowly understand that the ROI is going to improve as we move, and then as we adopt in more and more projects, return on investment on LLMs are going to be much like double, quadruple, stuff like that. So it's just going to go in ways. Once they have that understanding, it's just going to go much faster. And the other bottleneck, what I see is that you also have this kind of ballooning cost for inference. Once you have opened it out, there are a lot of projects start adopting it, and then the cost will go completely out of hand. Like imagine you're just giving a cloud subscription. I mean, cloud subscription to your enterprise, which is like about some 5,000 or 10,000 employees, and then each project is just pumping in like gigabits of data and stuff like that. So the cost will go. I mean, it will start moving exceptionally high. That could be some of the reasons why they're not rapidly adopting it yet. Actually, other than that, like other thing you also pointed out on the privacy side, which is also again makes sense, like because you don't have that kind of privacy is just handled in enterprise in two methods. Like one is by law, how you want to approach it in terms of rules and regulations, and the other one is like going by guardrails in the LLM and stuff like that, where you are with the help of the technology you implement a privacy and stuff like that. So all this is just what I see as just kind of holding them back. But then it's not going to be a bigger delay where you will see a lot more enterprises.
So I think so to that question, let's say the hallucination you brought about in some of these tools, right? So how do you even validate some of those in terms of testing it or validating before you put it out?
See, there is absolutely no concrete answer to this. Like it's just going to be a trial and error in many of the projects and stuff like that because these LLMs have the tendency to say things confidently even when they're not correct. Actually. So you need to have certain amount of domain expertise to even to validate that and stuff like that. So and then it's not going to be accurate all the time. So it is critical that you have this kind of domain experts sitting within the enterprise who are able to know how this kind of like human in the loop, like what they call like human in the loop for every project stuff like that. So what I look at is that you just have one guy who's just extremely good at the business what you're doing, and then have him in the loop in the projects. It's just still going to be much more productive than you have all the like the entire team is built by humans, like wherein you have a kind of like a agents, and then you have a set of agents, and then you also have set of people who are within the organization working along together with the kind of human on the loop, and then we should be able to achieve it. But then these technologies, when they come in, it's we are moving different paradigms, right? Like when internet came in, enterprises were worried, like, what about security and what about privacy? How do I communicate with my different branches and how do I integrate with various projects and stuff like that? But then slowly, all can move into the background. Like so, we will see similar things, but they're largely things which are holding enterprises are like kind of not able to get accuracy, hallucination, the ballooning cost of your inference models, which are they're opening out all the projects, and then security and privacy. And some of the enterprises sometimes even very much tied onto the ROI part of it. So that will be blocking some of them, saying that I have only so much money, and then by spending X amount of money on LLMs right now, will I be able to get something in 2 years and 4 years and so on? So all this kind of holding them back, but then they'll all move in the background as larger players come in, uh, more technology and frameworks and API structure architectures evolve around the deployments. These will just go in the background.
Okay. I think Anand, we briefly lost you, but just to continue the discussion, I just want to, let's say if you need to take out top three really significant ROI use cases with AI you have seen within enterprise, what would you, I mean, do you mind sharing them?
Yeah. I think it is what actually Subbu was talking about. One of the key things that we should do is not to maintain any more legacy code. See, a lot of companies make the mistake of continuing on the legacy code in this time, right? See, a few years ago, it was very difficult for us to understand the code, right? We don't know, there is no documentation. That was used to be the excuse for continuing on a legacy system, right? The best way to actually get ROI is replace that entire system. Right now with AI, with a decent level of good development team, you will be able to actually get and validate the documentation, everything of the old system, right? There is no meaning in actually fixing that old system, but it is creating from scratch a new system is way faster than running your legacy system. That's what the first and foremost use case. That frees up a lot of your budget, right? The moment that budget gets freed up, then you start investing them in further and further use cases. So first is like your technology. You need to first free the budget. There is in the current situation there is no meaning in going and asking the organization for more budget. You need to create your own budget. So first and easiest way to do is to actually like get out of all this legacy things like we discussed about workflow tools where you're playing. I call them license tax, right? You're paying a huge license tax to them. So you cut out all those things, you get the budget, right? And you take the budget and yeah, Subbu, you want to say something? Go ahead.
From license tax to we are moving towards the LLM tax.
LLM, I absolutely agree with it.
Which is even more difficult to control, Anand, don't you say?
It is difficult, but it is really difficult. But if you see the returns, Subbu, right? What is the returns if you ask somebody in the business, what are the returns that they got from an SaaS tool, right? And I have not heard anybody
I mean, don't
telling me
get
that.
Subbu started on it. He will, we need another 1 hour.
No, but that is the reality, right? Like, see, you and me work together, where we have seen, these things not bringing anything big, right? So that is, this that you free up. Then you comes, you embed AI to make the life of your customers simple, right? There are a
He
lot of
has
things.
given you, Subbu, he has given you a episode title, SaaS brings no value to the end.
Uh,
It's a
okay,
little
it will be the
controversial topic. Yeah.
most controversial title. I'll become viral in a day. So the point is, like, then this is how you repurpose the budget, right? You repurpose the budget towards embedding AI into the customer's talent, like the customer's benefit. A lot of simple and easier way to make customers' life simple with AI, right? And whether it is as simple as, and not everything needs to be also solved through AI also. Sometimes certain things
Yeah,
can be
right.
solved in a very simpler way with normal HI itself, or even common intelligence, I call. It gets solved actually, but a lot of things where you can really embed AI to make your customers' life simple, right? For example, like you spoke about like reports, right? A lot of customers expect reports,
Just
which
in time.
just in time, right? Which you can take, because the way they are designed is like they take it and they put it in their SaaS systems and they generate further things. So those kind of things you can build. You can actually completely move it to AI. So we have an AI system which is actually working in one specific area. I can talk about it because we have earlier also talked about it in the public forum. So I'll share it here. Very like your invoice, generation and sharing the invoice to your customers, right? It very straightforwardly, it impacts your DSO and cash flow, right? You delay that, you based on your agreement, you may have a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day
Yeah.
payment, right? It gets delayed further, right? If you don't charge them on time. This was a major problem statement for us, right? And we have actually implemented and completely an agentic AI solution, which
Okay.
actually takes all the relevant documents, and it can actually go and create a invoice in the ERP and take the invoice, and we know whom it has to be sent, right? So the entire flow, is automated. Now we send, so many hundreds of invoices like that, and it has really helped us improve. So this is where the real ROI is, right? Not just giving it to employees and leaving it at that. So you free up the revenue in one place and you put that revenue in another place, and then you start seeing this, right? So I would say, like everything, I again come back and link it to either top line or bottom line, right? So, but if you're focusing more on bottom line, it's not going to help you. So where you need to sit with the business and understand, what you can do to help them increase the top line, right? So as long as you are able to create that, that is what is going to give the. So from a technology budget perspective, the ROI is gained when you actually decommission all this legacy and simple workflow tools, right? Then you help the functions by bringing effectiveness, thereby you improve the bottom line, and then you work with the business and you improve the top line, right? So
Okay.
these are the three areas which definitely brings good ROI,
Right.
which is not tough to do. That is my point.
So have you, I
So
mean, have you started, I don't know how big is the customer support for you? Is it, have you started to use, because that is one area where we have seen some major disruption happening, right? Many of the companies are pretty much completely relying on AI agent, not just text interactions, even voice interactions, right? It's been like just, I mean, company after company is seeing adopting it. So is that a significant use case or no?
It's a significant use case, but it's a wrong use case. I'll explain to you why.
Okay.
I actually, listened to a podcast, maybe a month or so ago about shipping around the world solo, yachting competition, right? Two
Okay.
people competed in that. One was an expert maintenance guy, right? So he took all the tools that he needed to maintain his yacht through and he of course had a very great book after the end of the. Other person was a French philosopher who thought, why should you even maintain? Maintenance should not be even there because you should build the most perfect system. So I am more falling in the second camp than the first camp. First camp is where you are seeing the disturbance, right? Second camp is where you actually eliminate the need for even an AI to do that work, right? That is what I really I'm trying to push. Of course, it takes a lot of things to work to make that happen. But so far we are in the first camp. Of course, we are doing it. But in our case, the voice AI is used more with the customer interaction.
Okay.
Definitely.
So maybe coming towards the end, I just want to touch base about the usage of the LLM APIs and how do you control? Because if you remember when cloud was new and in enterprises when it came, where I mean, outside people are used to spinning up EC2 without much of, let's say, any guardrails, let's say, right? But then I myself have seen and led teams where they have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars just on VMs, just running there. Nobody knows how many VMs are running there. I mean, till they brought in some sort of control, right?
Yeah.
Imagine a product team who's burning like $500,000 just on unwanted VMs, which just impacts their profitability directly. And this could happen with AI as well. I mean, not with your control tools from Office or Google, but if you are opening APIs, let's say, right, especially with some of the visual APIs like image generation or video generation, they can consume a lot of tokens. So, have you seen this? I mean, are you seeing this as a problem? Because now that the issue with AI is there is no control interaction, right? Your customers, even your end customers, right, could ask anything they want. They can ask absolutely absurd thing, which can get, let's say, your database interaction into a loop and then keeps on running. I mean, I have seen my problems with that kind of thing where one query costs you $10, right? So, I mean, how are you, like, say, I mean, have you faced this issue, or what's your view, or how are you actually controlling this from your, I mean, quality assurance standpoint, or monitoring, or any of those?
Monitoring, absolutely, we have faced this, and the way we are trying to control it through some governance and monitoring, right? Proactive monitoring to ensure that these kind of things, like you said, we have learned the lessons, so we know what are the things to at
Yeah.
least look out for. We are monitoring them continuously, and then we are tracking them, literally on a weekly basis, to see that, we also have a financial way of controlling. You can actually set the limit that it doesn't, this calls and these things does not exceed a specific dollar value, right? So once you have that kind of a governance and regular tracking, right, then everybody understands the importance of not doing it, or not creating a situation where, like you said, like a customer asks some question which makes the
Yeah.
database run in an infinite loop. Yeah, definitely. Like, governance and guardrails, but this uh, cannot be left it to, a monthly report, and then
So the
we are
damage can be done in few hours, right?
few hours.
You don't
So
have
that's
time
why,
to wait for your
exactly,
weekly reviews, actually. So,
exactly. It has to be monitored real time, and real time discussions happen, and then you start moving. You bring the
okay.
controls. Yes.
Yeah. So,
So he touched upon how you can implement some of the challenges, like what you asked, like in terms of policy wise and stuff like that. There are other tools that are also evolving equally. You have something like an LLM proxy and gateways are coming, where you can just channelize all your traffic via one proxy or gateway, which is like your port key or the trust and stuff like that. So these tools are deployed at the enterprise level. They act like your traditional proxies or
Yes.
gateways for LLM.
So you're saying,
So
can I put like a real-time cost control mechanism?
yeah, you can. So
Okay.
these tools are built for that actually. So you can just take a look at port key and stuff like that, which allows you to do that at the enterprise level. You also have something like an observability monitoring platforms where tools are there, which you can just say uh, what you want, what kind of queries which you want to just push it out to which vendor and stuff like that. And you also have something like the caching mechanisms within the organization, within for one organization, if you're going with an LLM, wherein the question and answers what you throw at the LLM is cached at the enterprise level, wherein so that
Right.
you don't have the repeated question and answers that passed back and forth. So you have there is a technology solution. The policy highlights what you did, and there are tools which are there. So the combination of like a policy, technology, and caching mechanisms and observability tools and stuff like that, where you should be able to get a holistically control the budget. But the question would be like, do I have the capability to do all this? Would be the question. If you have, yeah, you can start doing it today. But then if you don't have, then probably it will be the similar situation where you end up in AWS paying a lot of money to AWS.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, this the popular joke runs, right? I went bankrupt because I left few EC2 instances running. So, Anand, that's the last question. You have anything more, or Subbu?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So, last
No,
question, it could be
EC2
controversial.
instance,
Yeah.
sorry, so like EC2 instance reminds me like that's again one of the reasons why you should go serverless as much as
Yeah,
possible, right? So, so your
Uh,
legacy, go ahead.
I have my reservation on
yeah,
server.
exactly. I mean, I mean, you will get him started on that.
Yeah, so that will go to a different episode.
Different. We'll have one more conversation on that. Yeah, go ahead, Subbu.
As a last question, it could be controversial. If you don't want to answer, it's fine. This is again coming back to our previous discussion, our episode. We talked about white collar, blue collar jobs, where we sort of concluded that, I mean, more people are going to get blue collar jobs because of the adoption of AI data centers, and you need more electricians, more, I mean, people to build those. I will reserve the question on the blue collar. What top, I mean, white collar jobs, let's say top three, if you look at, I mean, maybe you can talk within your context of, not essentially with your company, but what you see in the IT world, right? What jobs do you think will be obsolete? What, let's say, if you want to pick the top three, which will just not be there or completely gone, replaced by AI. Let's start with that, and maybe changed in some form or other, right? It could be any of those.
I think it will change rather than getting completely replaced. I don't
Okay.
think, I think the fear of people getting replaced, is little bit hyped up. You will get replaced if you are not modernizing yourself. There is no questions on that, right? Like if you still say that I was a Fortran developer and I will be a Fortran developer for my life, then you have a major problem in your
No,
hands.
let me point in case quoted. This is from Aravind Srinivas of Perplexity, right? He
Uh-huh.
just tweeted, I think, maybe a few days back that I mean, whatever the Perplexity computer they have launched, it's going to completely replace QA jobs, right? And he sort of made a big statement, say, "Hey, QA jobs anyway nobody likes." But then, I mean, there are like millions of people who are doing QA jobs, right? I mean, it's very rude to say something like that, but I mean, every other day you say this job is replaced, that job is replaced, right? Especially from the AI companies, it comes non-stop.
Subbu, you know my career trajectory. I was a QA engineer,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. That's why
So
I'm
it's
asking.
not. So see, a QA engineer in has been better equipped than what he or she was when I was a QA engineer,
That's
right?
true.
Through AI tools. So that's what I'm saying. See, if you are a manual tester, of course you will be like phased out in some point in time. But then if you are a person who creates your own testing tools, for example, like, why do you think an organization has to need to invest again millions of dollars in buying a testing tool? You tell me. So a tester, who can create their own testing tool to test applications, who can generate, more number of, situational use cases. See, testing is not just functional testing, right? Like whatever we spoke in the previous question, right? Is also a prop testing. Somebody who thinks in that direction takes the help of AI will never be replaced, right? But if somebody is just doing some manual work, of course, then there is a serious, problem of their continuance, I would say, right? So if you are thinking forward and if you are applying these tools in the right way, I don't think AI can replace you. Uh, AI completely replacing people is in an enterprise, in a real world, there are so many touch points where you need a human being. It's very nice to say that, but it is not happening, Subbu. AI adoption will definitely increase. For example, for what you needed 100 people earlier to do something, maybe that number will come down.
Yeah.
Right? But that doesn't mean that competent people will not have jobs to do. Definitely competent people will have jobs to do. I am seeing AI only enhancing somebody's this one. So if somebody says I won't adapt AI, that's a different problem altogether. That's so I
Yeah, I
don't
think you're right, because I also run a design studio, right? I am actually looking at how designers are going to need to change completely. The way we used to design, the processes we have put in place, all that has just crashed. Because now every other, like say, sometimes even a customer gives you like a vibe coded UI and say, this is what I want.
Yeah.
So there is no longer like a business requirement, and then we do like say study and wireframe and things like it's all gone, right? So the way every other job is just disrupted a lot. I mean the way you work on a daily basis, your workflow of working is just gone, right? So or it disrupted a lot.
If somebody is sitting and creating a business requirements document for 3 weeks, right? I'm
It
telling
doesn't
you a
make sense.
real situation. Like I met with a customer of us, and they gave a problem statement. We have a solution for it, right? But I personally invited him to our office for a session with our team. I told him, you come, we'll teach you AI. You can wipe code along with our team, and then you can bring your idea to reality. You will see the actual idea of yours in a screen working, right? And then you can clarify, whether that makes sense. Then that will give you. See, one of the biggest problems, Subbu, if you remember when we used to do IT, is the requirements were always stale. It was taken 1 year back, given to us, and we are developing that. And then when we actually go back to the actual stakeholders, they say, this is not what I wanted, right? We all came through that era, right? Now, if somebody is going to say that I'm going to still develop in that kind of a methodology, right? That's not going to work, right? So for that, the best solution is like, that's one of the things that I see in very good adoption application of AI, where you actually teach people to actually create this kind of requirements. When an IT tool is seen in the screen, right, going through the workflow, going through the movements, right, then people will start thinking like, okay, do I really need this? Do I
Yeah.
need that? Right? People start asking, I have seen applications with some screen with some 60 fields, right? When I ask them to redo the same screen now, using an AI application, they create it with 5 or 6 fields. Now, when I joke with them saying that, so what were I going to do with the remaining 55 fields? Then he will say, sir, I never saw them earlier. Right? So, so that that is the reality, and that is, it's making a big impact if you leverage it in the right way. And as like we discussed, any technology leveraged in the right way will give you benefits.
Okay, I think great discussion. We can keep going on, but I think in the interest of time, any closing thoughts, Ananda, from Subbu? If you have any, we can close it.
So on the question which you asked, I have some thoughts on it. So I feel so in 3 years, software development is going to completely look very different. You will have smaller teams, very small teams actually. The traditional teams which were managing QA requirements, design, like testing, uh, ops, uh, and then the design teams, all this will vanish. Product manager and a couple of devs together will be able to execute large projects in 3 years' time. The projects will be going to be smaller ones, and we will be able to rapidly build and deploy them into production with the help of LLMs. And they will be able to stitch glue seamlessly. Agentic software will be able to do that for you on behalf of you, and that will be able to improve features, adding new features, collect requirements, and stuff like that. So in 3 years, software development is going to look completely different. You might, if you find Anand Srinivasan's reply is harsh, I'll go even harsher.
You are on mute.
You're on mute.
Oh, oops, sorry. You shared any agent to tell me.
Any IT podcast or anything, a meeting has to have this statement. You are on mute. Otherwise, it doesn't remind that we are all in a technology environment.
Yeah, I think, I know. I mean, this tool what you're using, Teams, is, I mean, let me not get started on that. So it's fine. So at least it should tell me you're talking on mute, right? So it's fine. So yeah, I said nice chatting with you, Anand. I think we
Yeah,
touched base a
absolutely
lot of
same.
stuff. And hope we can connect again, maybe even on supposing hey, the entire software thing, everything is going to go and going to change. We have different viewpoints on that, but with that, thanks, Anand.
Get together
Thanks
one
for your
day.
time.
Absolutely. It's a
Thanks for
pleasure
inviting.
meeting you. And, I mean, though digitally is still a pleasure. Felt that no, I've gone back 10 years back and talking to IT manager, like where we used to have this kind of conversation around ROIs, especially around ROIs.
Thanks, Subbu and Subbu, for inviting me. It was a
Thank
pleasure
you. Bye.
talking to you. Bye bye.
All right.